Okay. This one. Okay. Let's go over the open pull requests for Bosch. So this one we are waiting for a review by either Behan or Long.
Okay.
This is a follow-on from what has been done related to like locking down NATS access for other jobs using IP tables on Linux, and that didn't support. Initially, there was no support for IPv6, so this addresses that. And I think this is already in the on the branches of the agent that Xenial uses. This was already merged, so this is about merging that into main, so that Bionic has this as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yes. This was brought up by someone from SAP, I think. There's a lot of additional test cases for the IPv6 support, and that was this is a follow-on from the what was it, NetAdder gem or something. There was some bump of a gem in another pull request, and this was more of a things that were while bumping that this person has found additional ambiguity that would better be addressed in, or these specs demonstrate that. And there's some ideas on fixing this. The main problem is that because the way it's stored, the IP addresses are stored for the beginning of the range. It assumes that it's an IPv4 address, while it could also be an IPv6 address. One's proposed solution would be to have a field where we store the type, the address type, in the database, which would make sense. Oh, yeah, that's what I said here. I like the idea of storing it in the database.
Okay, Florian will propose the PR.
Okay, that's good. So we just have to wait. There's basically changes. We're waiting for changes. So that's good. Here are some small changes. Oh, this was already approved by Joseph.
Yeah, I'll respond to that this morning. But yeah, the guiderails.json is our CI control file.
Where did you respond?
I said I will respond this morning.
Oh, you will. Okay. Yeah, no, that's okay. But that is a good start. So Beyan, if you could also take a look at some point. These are the Bosch agent changes. Yes. There's also another part where we have the Bosch Linux stem cell builder changes, which depend on this agent stuff. but we need 2 approvals. So gonna put it back here. This one, it's pinged Benjamin, but he hasn't responded, so this still needs to be rebased. There's merge conflicts. Here we're still waiting for an upstream release. Oh, yeah, there's no further activity there. This is the bump of the NetAdder gem. I've requested a few changes. That was yesterday.
Talks.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think we have 3 options here, either massage the PR to bring in that address in the latest version, or maybe getting a release, because there is already a version that has a fix in the 1.5x branch, so to say, but it's not released to Ruby gems. Or we go for IP address implementation. I think these are the 3 options here.
Yes, but I mean, if there's more animo to move to IP adder, then this could be an intermediate fix, right? So this would be a quick fix if it's released. Is it released or not?
So they have a GitHub tag, but no Ruby gems release. So, and the maintainer is not super responsive. So it's an unclear path, to be honest, right now. We just realized that there was a fix quite some time ago, but it has not been released.
This is it's the age. Yeah, we already have gems that we installed from GitHub. If there's a tag,
Oh, okay.
like we had to do the same with Event Machine, because Event Machine, they are also not releasing, and they have like fixes that address Ruby 3.0 incompatibility, and they haven't released. Like they worked on it and then they just stopped responding because they had to make a change log and they didn't want to make a change log or something. That was too much work for a Ruby project. It's really annoying.
That's
Yeah, I mean, it could be an option here as well then.
Yeah.
That would be probably the quickest short-term solution.
That's the quickest short term, and then we have time to do the proper solution.
Which is IP address, right? Because we want to
yes.
get rid of this unreliable dependency. I think.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
That makes sense, right? I'm gonna, where's we have source, gem file. Here, Event Machine. We're even just referencing a ref because they don't even have a tag. But if they have a tag, that's even better, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we had to do that with the gem once that wasn't releasing too. Eventually they did. FYI, you can usually just highlight something and paste, and it'll do the linking for you.
Thank you. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I went a long time doing it the hard way too.
I didn't know that also, but Stack Overflow does this.
Okay, something like that. Yeah, I mean, that would work, I guess. We can move forward now with this PR if it's like basically revert everything, just bump the gem, and then we have a separate PR for IP header. Okay. That's something else.
I think we walked into this one.
Yeah, we already looked into that one. Yes, this is also an interesting one. It has fully been approved by Ramon.
So I'm going to add another comment to this today too. So it looks like this is likely a breaking change, and we need to look into some more further modification to the PR before it gets merged. Unfortunately, this might take a little while though, because we've got some competing priorities. So I'll update this.
Yes, just a quick summary. It seems like a small change, but this will conflict with Bosch DNS.
So I think the main issue is the DHCP option sets in AWS, and it seems like the primary means to get around that is a dhclient.conf, which potentially the agent could use instead of resolve.conf head, but I'm not sure if that's an AWS specific solution or not. So there's a couple different ways we could go here, or potentially if we want to get what will unbreak us in, we might just need to have some sort of toggle and have the agent be able to do its current behavior of modifying base, or toggle it to modify head instead of base, so that we can use that route. Because as long as you're not using Bosch DNS, that's not a problem. But we do want to try to get off of our fork. So
yeah, not a really big fan of a toggle around, but yeah, we'll see.
So, well, the other thing is, would we want to look into using updates to dhclient.conf instead of base? Is anybody aware of whether that has cross IaaS support?
I don't know. That needs some more research, I guess.
Yeah. I did a few hours yesterday, but it's nasty rabbit hole.
But is this required because of CentOS support or what?
No, this is a fix. Apparently, Ubuntu a while ago made a change. It used to be the precedence between the base file, resolve.conf base file, and dynamic name servers. Base took precedence, and then at some point they changed it so that base had less precedence than the dynamic name servers. So if on AWS, if you're using DHCP option sets, they automatically insert a name server higher than whatever's in base. So we fixed it on our fork by changing from base to head, which completely resolved the issue. The agent's name servers that we explicitly specify took precedence again. However, Ruben pointed out that Bosch DNS also expects to control the head file. We're not using Bosch DNS, so our fix doesn't break anything for us and fixes our problem, but it would result in contention between the two components for the head file. And there just doesn't seem to be a good and easy way to resolve those two.
I see. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and I think
Right.
this is a bug probably in Bionic, but
So anybody who has DHCP option sets in AWS enabled is probably subject to this same existing bug that's broken. But apparently that's not a lot of people. Otherwise, you guys probably would have heard about this from somebody else.
yeah.
When do you need that option? I'm just interested on
Well,
AWS.
we're still using a fork of the Bosch agent at this point. This is part of our effort to get everything on our fork that's custom upstream so that we can stop maintaining a separate fork.
Yeah, no, I understand that, but when do you need the DHCP, the DHCP option on AWS? Because
Oh, why? That I'm still digging into as well.
okay,
So it might be a legacy thing. I think for a while it was necessary as part of some AWS traffic control stuff, the global traffic routing. They've since added DNS, Route 53 DNS record stuff that obsoleted and replaced some of that. So I'm not entirely sure we even still need those, but I'm digging into that. If we can just
Okay.
get off of DHCP option sets, we may not need this fix anymore, hypothetically. But so that's why I need to figure out on our side if we still have a actual need for DHCP option sets. If so, we need to fix the problem for ourselves somehow. If not, then if nobody else is complaining, maybe we just don't need this anymore.
Okay. Thanks for all the context.
thank you.
Continue. Yeah, there is some. We are seeing some flakes in our CI where if you directly after updating a Bosch director with active deployment, try to do it deploy, then you get some unresponsive agents, and the problem is that the NATS connections take like 5 minutes to time out or reconnect or something, like for the agent to crash and then restart and reconnect to the new director. And while investigating that, Konstantin has added some logging to better get a better idea of what's happening, and that logging maybe can be useful for others. So that's what this pull request is about. And also,
I wanted to ask something, but this finishing. Like,
yeah, so a follow-up of this would be to also rethink the way we reconnect with nets, because we have like retryable things. I think we use from Bosch utils. We wrap it in that. But since we switched to the new nets, I think half year ago or something, there was an effort to move from YakNets, which was a nets client in Go that we maintained, to the upstream nets client. That was done, and that client has a lot more options to like retry connections. So it would be better to start tweaking the nets client, the upstream nets client that we're currently using more, right, for these particular cases. For that, would be nice to have some additional logging.
Yeah, we saw a completely unresponsive agent a couple weeks ago out of the blue. We weren't even able to figure out why. Eventually, we just had to kill the machine. But yeah, I wonder if it.
No, it can be many reasons. I don't know if it was particular this.
Yeah.
I think in this case it had something to do with the MAC address changing of the machine, and then we need to basically during bootstrap of the agent, it clears ARP entries, if I'm correct, and that fixes the issue. So, but first it needs to time out, right? So then it crashes and then it restarts and goes through bootstrap. That resolved the issue, but it would be better maybe like we could have something where when it in the connection handlers or like retry handlers where there we could have something that flushes the ARP tables or something. That would be a quicker solution, a solution that would quicker resolve itself. But Bayan, you had also some questions.
Yeah, I asked Konstantin to start a discussion about this rethinking, and there is a discussion in the Bosch repo. He basically listed all available options to rethink or re-implement this. Yeah, this is the one. Yeah, please provide feedback to this discussion if you have any. And I also wanted to ask, is this something you which recently came up, or do you observe this issue forever? So is this related to some agent changes, or?
It is related to the connect. So when we switched to the new Nets client, then we started seeing these flakes, but it took a while to like figure out that it was actually related to that. It's a flake that we see, and you see it when you upgrade and then directly do a deploy.
And which MAC address is changing in this? When
the director.
Upgrade? So the VM is recreated of the director, and then.
Yeah, if you do an upgrade, like stem cell upgrade or something.
Okay.
Right, you recreate the director, but it has the same IP address, but a different MAC address.
I see. So I was looking also into responsive agents last week on our side. Still don't have the full understanding why they happen, but yeah, I need to dig into this more.
Rum, you mentioned like this is a problem right after the director has been upgraded and the deployment has started. What time frame are we talking about here? Like minutes or?
5 minutes. After 5 minutes, the agents crash and then they restart. And then it's fine. But if you have a deploy starting within that 5-minute window, then it can fail. That's what we're seeing in CI.
And that means the deployment then has when in this period of time the VMs are touched, so to say, of the deployment.
Yeah, so like it does the preparing deployment, right? Where it pings all the agents to get some current state or something before like starting to create a deployment plan. In that phase, it fails when there's unresponsive agents. It's like not like a really serious issue, it's just annoying if you have automation or failing tests, right?
And how does the health monitor react on this? So the heartbeats and all the stuff are still working, aren't they?
No, for 5 minutes they are not. So
it's in meltdown and doesn't do anything.
Maybe it goes into meltdown, maybe. But I don't know if it's like 100% on all the instances or if it's just a few.
Okay, but it's good to know, like we should keep that in the back of our heads.
Yeah, and I think that's why it's good to have that additional logging, right? Because that would help with this discussion as well, if like people can gather some more metrics around it, because we switched to a different client. I mean, we did that a while back, but yeah, would be good to have some data from the wild on how that thing actually performs. And because we need to learn about it, right? It's a new client, so it has different behavior, and at scale you can see different things, so you need to tweak it. So yeah, take a look at this discussion, and I think this logging would be good to have that.
Yeah, I upvote some better logging around the Bosch agent logs too. There seem to be a lot of expected but ignorable errors that are red herrings in there. We ran into that while trying to debug some things with the new stem cells.
Yeah, but I mean, like, that's a different discussion, right? This is just about nets disconnects. Wait, I didn't assign reviewers, or there's assigned people, but not as reviewers. So let's see. Pending discussions. This was reviewed and is currently waiting for changes, I think. Two issues I've mentioned. Where are those two issues? I think Kenneth didn't submit his review. I will ask them that. We'll ask him on Slack. Because he mentions two things that I don't see here. Okay. Yes, this I still need to work on. I have some code. It's not done yet because I got dragged into that whole community automation thing, which is still taking up way too much time. It's crazy. The runtime on that thing, it takes 4 hours or something to sync the repo, and like the feedback cycle is terrible. But yeah, I will continue on this once I get the community thing figured out.
FYI, I think there's going to be a merge conflict between the stuff on the Jammy branch and the stuff on the Bionic branch related to the RSpec exclusion tags. Because you modified them for this FIP stuff, and I cleaned them up and enhanced them for the REL stuff.
Okay, we'll get there. That's fine. Talking about REL.
Yeah, my tiny little PR.
Yes. Yes.
So if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Maybe it's good. Yeah, go ahead, Ben.
I just want to say that I didn't have time to look into that. That's why I don't have yet.
So in a nutshell, the first thing I did was undo the removal of the CentOS, REL, SUSE, Photon OS, trusty stuff, and the branching based upon OS. Then removed SUSE, Photon OS, leaving CentOS REL. And then, built back from there, fixing stages, etc., and adding, updating, fixing specs as needed. So I tried to make the history very clean and detailed. There are 116 commits because there were a lot of relatively independent issues that if I squashed them down, it would be much less clear what changes were related to any particular issue. But so yeah, there were a ton of different changes involved. Hopefully it's all clear. Be happy to answer any specific questions.
Yeah, and this just to clear up, we're targeting Jammy because that's going to be the new target moving forward.
Yeah, so this is was directly rebased onto the latest Jammy like a week ago. There's been a couple of bot commits on top of Jammy head, but still pretty much mainline Jammy.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I will make some time to look into this as well next week. Yeah, and I've also, because it's such a big PR, I've also asked Ramon as well because he's, I don't know, on Jammy all the time. So I think it makes sense if he also looks at it.
So that means we officially support it again?
I mean, we're not going to publish them, right?
Okay.
So this is just about putting it in the builder, because then Justin and the company he works for can like use the same repo to build their things on, and they don't have to maintain a fork.
What we were especially concerned about was maintaining a fork with this extent of changes, because it'd be almost impossible to keep up to synced up to the main. So we're concentrating on RHEL 8.5 vSphere right now. So the other IaaSs should theoretically work, but we're focusing on getting that one working, and then there might be minor tweaks needed for the other IaaSs, but that's our immediate need.
Okay, understood. Thanks.
This is for Jammy as well. We can have in Ruby 3.1 is a requirement for Jammy compatibility. So I think tomorrow there will be a final release, or I think it goes GA, right? The Ubuntu stems or the Ubuntu Jammy image, and then we can cut like a beta stem cell. So it's nice to have this as well. Yeah, I've asked Gunny, although he's not officially an approver, he does have the most context on vSphere. So I thought it would be useful to have him review this. Yeah, nothing else to add here.
Speaking of that CPI, we just ran into an issue yesterday. Does anybody have context on why system.view permission is needed? Because it's causing a problem getting that for us with one of our customers, and the log.
Did that recently change?
No, it didn't recently change. They're just pushing back. It's against their policy, and they're asking if there's something, lesser that can be done. And the logs didn't reveal exactly what was failing as a result of the missing permission. So may have to go in and add some debug statements into the CPI, but I was just wondering if anybody had context on. All right.
I mean, Brian Carney usually has the most context on vSphere related things.
Check with him.
Yeah. Okay. There's some open issues. Or there's some new issues. There's a lot of open issues.
Yeah, so I discovered that there's a whole folder full of spec files that aren't getting executed by either of the two rake tasks that are documented. So when you build stem cells, none of those spec files, a dozen or so, there they all are, get executed, and they've been getting, the code in those files has been getting updated periodically as other changes get made. But as far as I could tell, these files have never been getting called by those rake tasks or anything anywhere in the code base, including historically. So,
But those are like utility related, right? Help or like.
not all of them. I mean, the build environment spec, builder options definition, infrastructure spec, operating system spec. These are things that.
Yeah, but they are about like Ruby classes that are used
Yeah.
by the builder.
Yeah.
So it's basically specs, unit tests for the builder itself.
Unit tests for the functionality that performs the automation of the stages.
Yeah. Yeah. So for example, when I was working on the variant stuff, then I was running those specs.
You were running
Like,
them directly?
Like locally. Yeah, like it's for like when you're developing it. I don't know if we run it somewhere. It would be nice to run it in CI, maybe.
I
But
ran
it's
a few
also-
of them locally, but some of them, when I executed them, they wouldn't even run locally.
I think some of them are like dependent, like only work on Linux.
Okay.
So I think when I run it in a Docker container, it works. Or like last time I touched it. Maybe we can just add some GitHub actions for this. That would be like really simple, I guess.
Or even just some, README instructions on the correct way to, execute them, when and how, under what circumstances. I wasn't sure if they should be getting executed as part of the build image and stem cell rake tasks, if any.
I mean, no, because it would delay things, and it's not like these things rarely change, right? I mean, the variant thing was the last thing that was changed, and like before that, I think maybe it was like more than a year ago that these files were even touched. What do we want to do about this action-wise?
So like I said, I looked into the history. The reason I opened it as an issue is because I was hoping somebody with more historical context, would chime in and, provide, hey, this is where they're already getting executed routinely, or.
Yeah, I mean, like I can look into that, but I don't know off the top of my head, and I'm a bit doubtful that they are. I know that there was some work done. Don't remember his name. When we were doing the bionic work, I think there were some like shell out specs or something that were like fixed.
I think there might be, the shell out specs might be in a different folder, somewhere else.
Okay.
Can't recall, but yeah, and certainly some of these specs started failing as a result of some of the RHEL stuff. And if I hadn't found that they were orphaned and run them manually, I would have missed that. So, but I didn't run all of them because I couldn't run some of them my initial attempts.
I'm gonna look into this. I will at least see if I can run them locally, and then update something, maybe README or something.
All right.
It's a public note to self. Once we have the same discussion next week. if I forget.
So yeah, I opened this in response to Ramonsky's comment that the CI stuff in the repo isn't used anymore. We've just got a separate CI repo. So it seems like there's still a lot of asset files and some things, CI, Docker, all of that stuff.
Oh, but this is used.
Yeah, that one is. So I wasn't sure what is, orphaned and unused and what isn't. But
I mean, everything here is used.
okay.
These are this is when you when you follow the instructions on the README, you use this run scripts
Right.
to run into Docker and then executes that builds like the builder or the publisher, not the publisher. The publisher is for later. And that is also what's used by CI. It's just that the whole pipeline definition, the pipeline definition just lives in a different repo.
Okay. So I wasn't sure if there's anything that is no longer used. I know some of the stuff is used, but I hadn't had a chance to go dig into the CI repo. So this might just be a, nothing to do, everything's still used, close it type of scenario, but
here, tasks publish, right? So this still uses that. And I think it is all really spread out, because then there's like here, there's a CI directory where we have old Docker, I think, maybe, or there's a pipeline. You have yeah, this has a pipeline. Does this? Yeah. So in the director repo, there's an old Docker pipeline that still exists that actually builds this image. And that's then used by the Bosch stem cell CI thing to publish it. So yes, it's used. It's just really oddly structured.
Yeah, I did try to look into it, and I saw that there was the old way of doing CI and a new way of doing CI, and I tried to untangle some of it, and then just kind of went,
Yeah, and the problem is also that there's like also some repos. There's also a Bosch stem cell CI that's like private, because there's like the stem cell publishing that goes onto like PivNet or TanzuNet, like the VMware thing. And then there's like the, but I think this publishes it to Bosch.io. So I don't know. There's like multiple parts to it, multiple repos. About
and
4 repos that are related.
1 or 2 repos that are now archived and shouldn't be used any longer, but those are still referenced in some places, and so it's
beautiful,
confounding enough that it, I felt like I was running in circles at one point. But so yeah, this could be a nothing to do, close it scenario if everything is still good. But
yeah, I mean, like this was the one that I was wondering about. I was sure about the other one because it's even referenced in the README, right? That's how you build it. But this is also used.
Okay.
So yeah. Which one was that? Not this one. This one. This one. Oh, close issue. Okay. Yeah, but thanks, that is still maintained, but it's in a different language. Okay. Really helpful. Yeah, so this is already addressed, right? We have a pull request for that. I'm gonna close this. Okay, what was the last time that we had this meeting?
So is there a separate aspect of that with the deprecated automation?
I mean, it's deprecated, but yeah, that's what the reality of Ruby projects nowadays. Like things just get like no support anymore. I mean, it is a VMware thing. So like we probably like have the option to ping the maintainers if there's an issue and say we actually need a fix. I think yeah, we should be fine. We have discussed this on the VMware side a bit. We weren't that worried. And alternatively, we might have to fork it if we really start running into issues.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, the alternative is moving to Go or something, but there's way too much stuff or logic, and if you use for CPI, that would be way too expensive. So yeah, it's the reality of Ruby. Not hip and
Always
happening
fun.
anymore. Yes. Let's see. Since the 7th. Yeah, there was some, this person is from VMware as well. There was some internal discussion about this. They got a workaround and still waiting on verification that the workaround worked, and then this issue will be updated, or it will be closed by the stillbot, but it is being addressed. Wait, I actually can just ping here. So would be nice to, I think they didn't want to put the workarounds there public before it was tested or something. Probably good to have that there. Yes, we're waiting on a pull request. This one was updated by Connie saying he's still working on it, but it's not high priority. Or it is for him personally. Connie has a vSphere lab in his basement. So that's so that's why he has a deep personal interest. Yeah, I think that's it. Oh wait, this maybe. Is there anything discussed here? Yes, we are waiting for the fix to be merged. We're waiting for Benjamin to rebase it. And then we can review it. Yeah, that's it. People have anything else they want to discuss? Right at time. So. Nothing else? Okay. Thank you all for joining.
Bye, everyone.
Hi.
Goodbye.
Nice to meet you.
Take care.
Yeah.
Bye bye.
Likewise. Bye.